It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We read your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Just minutes ago, Governor Gavin Newsom wrapped up a press conference where he signed the legislation that he wanted in the special session of the Assembly and the State Senate. That special session was to hold big oil accountable.
Accountability, accountability, accountability.
In fact, that's what the big old banner said on the podium as Gavin Newsom signed this bill that is supposed to make sure that you don't see any more spikes in your gas prices when refineries have planned or unplanned maintenance. Gavin took a victory lap and Gavin took some questions. And even though this should be a celebratory day, Gavin seemed all the way pissed off throughout all of it. So let's listen to a little bit of it and we'll take your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think Gavin is going to get your gas prices down? 800-222-KABC.
Success as it relates to addressing the issue of prices in this state, gas prices in particular, is not a process or rather a destination itself, meaning there is no having made it. It's something that unfolds over the period of time. There's humility.
Well, shouldn't we know what success is? I mean, you took a special session last year that was supposed to hold big oil accountable. You were going to tax their windfall profits and give that back to us, and then that ended up becoming an advisory board. But what does success look like? When are these efforts actually successful?
There's humility in that process. There's a deep understanding that this is not the final word as it relates to the issue of gas prices in the state of California. Quite the contrary.
There'll be a special section next fall. Because it's sometimes around September, October, where Gavin really likes to go after them.
But what we were able to do last year allowed us to see underneath the proverbial tent, to look in and...
Why wouldn't you say hood? It's you're talking about gasoline and cars, but sure.
To look in and rather insert a point of view, to truly understand and validate a point of view, and ultimately understand that one of the principal issues that was holding back our capacity to tame these price spikes was the issue around...
Imagine Gavin out there with a whip.
To tame these price spikes was the issue around supply issues, around maintenance issues, around refineries. And we're here today because of the...
I do remember those days where you'd hear in the bottom of the hour news that there's a refinery fire in the South Bay. And what do you know? Gas goes up 20 cents that week.
Because of the progress we made a year or so ago. And that progress continues now with the CEC. Remember, this bill...
For all you noobs, that's the California Energy Commission.
This bill basically now allows for a secondary process to unfold at the California Energy Commission to assess this market, to consider what those supply demands are, to consider all the health and human service issues that were brought up during these 20 hours of testimony, to bring up worker safety issues, to bring up the concerns that were expressed around costs, indirect or direct, to expose a lot of the mistruths and manipulation on the other side, particularly WISPA.
Western States Petroleum Association. I didn't expect you to know that one.
Particularly WISPA and their talking points, and big oil that knowingly continues to lie to the people of this state, our nation.
Did you know that? Big oil's been lying to us.
For that matter, around the world. They are the polluted heart of this climate crisis. They continue...
Oh, wow. We're getting real poetic here.
They are the polluted heart of this climate crisis. They continue to lie, and they continue to manipulate. And they're taking advantage of you.
See, it's not Gavin that's taking advantage of you. It's big oil.
And this should be universal. Universal. 37 million gallons a day are purchased in the state of California, and they have been raking in unprecedented profits because they can, because they take advantage of you. They take advantage of emotion. They take advantage of the fact they have a massive economic advantage.
Now, a lot of pushback that Gavin gets when he says things like this are, well, why wouldn't big oil be doing that to the other 49 states? You could make an argument that they know that they can jack up the prices here and make Gavin look bad, and Gavin's going to take all the blame. But that would be one heck of a conspiracy theory. But there's always the hint of truth to it. Maybe.
They buy their manipulation.
Maybe that should be the question. 800-222-KABC. Do you think big oil jacks up prices just to make Gavin look bad? 800-222-KABC.
They buy their manipulation. Politicians, industry groups, front groups, organizations that are created out of thin air, dark money that they put in. And they've been fleecing you.
Gavin is a big opponent of dark money, unless, of course, it's the dark money that funded him from PG&E or the dark money that has funded him from so many other interest groups.
And they've been fleecing you for decades.
Just not this interest group. But ask how much money Gavin has taken from big insurance and why there isn't a special session right now to address that crisis.
And they've been fleecing you for decades and decades, billions and billions and billions of dollars. Hardworking people. Just as the speaker said, just trying to make ends meet, get to work, take care of their kids, and they're screwing you. They've been screwing you for years and years and years. There's no other way to put it.
Ow, that sounds painful.
And they're screwing you. They've been screwing you for years and years and years. There's no other way to put it. You can't sugarcoat this.
They've been screwing you. They've been screwing you so bad, they've been screwing you left and right.
And they lied again over the course of the last few weeks. And they'll continue to lie. And what I'm so proud of is that we stood up.
Oh boy. Are you ready? We're going to start patting ourselves on the back here. This brave legislature did exactly what I said and came in on their day off.
We didn't step back. Everybody here had the courage of their convictions. And they stood tall, and it wasn't easy. I mean, we saw what happened here. You see it over and over and over and over again. You see it all across the country. But what you don't see happening across the country is the kind of courage that these folks behind me demonstrated. So to the authors, some of them are heart,
I mean, you could argue there's a lack of courage among the members of the legislature that do whatever you ask of them when this could have been passed in a regular session.
Agua Curry, Senator Skinner, and every one of...
How about the courage of Dave Min running to replace Katie Porter, who did not vote on this bill because he was worried it would affect his election chances?
The folks that were entrusted in this special session to stand tall, to ask the tough questions. Thank you for asking the tough questions. To stress test this idea. Thank you for having the backs of hardworking people in this state. It's about time. Big oil does not have your back.
You hear that? Big oil doesn't have your back. Big oil's been screwing you just to make Gavin look bad. Do you think big oil has been jacking up prices just to make Gavin Newsom look bad? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Hey, let's start with Rick in Burbank. Rick, hello. Rick? Hello? Is the phone on? I don't know if the phone's on. I'm going to put Rick on hold. Maybe we'll go to calls in the next break.
Big oil does not have your back, period. Full stop. This is not complicated. It's right and wrong. Been lying to you year in, year out. Price of crude oil goes down. There's no increase. No increase in taxes. You're seeing gas prices drop across the rest of the country, but spike in California.
How dare they? How is it that prices go down across the country except for here? What could it be? What makes California so special?
And they buy all these ads saying somehow it's California's fault. They've been manipulating you. They've been lying to you. They've been playing you over and over and over again. And every single one of you, every single person reporting on this, every single person in front of the camera, behind the camera, you have been screwed.
He's Kaiser Sozeing this press conference right now. The reporters, the people with cameras, the editors.
You have been screwed by these companies.
You hear that? Big oil has been screwing you just to make Gavin look bad. What do you think? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's try this again. Rick in Burbank. Rick, hello.
Yes, hi, you guys. I was listening to what you guys were talking about. I was driving from Costco, and I can't take this anymore. I mean, he says that big oil is manipulating things. Big oil is screwing you. You know, people need to start opening their eyes and seeing what he's been doing to California. I mean, there's no reason we should be paying that kind of money on gas. They're trying to force things that people don't want. He's trying to blame everybody else except for himself. He's never the one to blame. The gas taxes, the registration taxes, infrastructure, the climate, everything's an excuse, and everything's a tax, and everything is to help California. But California, out of all the states, we're the only one that's getting screwed by big oil, which is just hilarious to me. I mean, I got people
That's
that
what
live
he's
in
alleging.
Texas, that live in Florida, live in back east, and they're not paying anywhere close to what we're paying here. So is big oil just messing with California? He pretends like we're just dumb. I'm sorry. It's almost like we're infants and we have no understanding of what's going on. People just go with the flow because they don't open their eyes. But this is just ridiculous. I mean, now just blaming, never taking on the blame himself for his policies and what he does and what he's trying to pass and trying to force people to do things. I mean, whose fault was it when he closed all the businesses and forced people to lose their business because of the pandemic? And other states stayed open and people didn't lose their business. I mean, it's always an excuse. So I'm so sorry, you guys. He's just, I don't know. He needs to get out of there. We need somebody new. And people just don't see it. For whatever reason, I don't know, but we need somebody new to represent California. California is an amazing state. We used to be incredible. And with the things that have been going on year after year, and there's no one to blame but him, he is the governor of the state. You are responsible for this state, nobody else. You as a leader have to take responsibility when things don't come out right and people are suffering and people are hurting. You take the blame. You're the one leading people, and he hasn't been doing that. So no excuses. No way we should be paying the kind of money we're paying and to blame big oil. Oh, my goodness. I'm tired of it already.
Rick, that was an impassioned speech. I feel like you were yelling directly at Gavin Newsom, and I am here for it. Thank you so much for the call, buddy. Appreciate it. Gavin Newsom says big oil is screwing you just to make him look bad.
Every single person in front of the camera, behind the camera, you have been screwed by these companies.
You've been screwed by them. How do you respond? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Gavin Newsom says big oil is screwing you. How do you feel about that? 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Gavin Newsom signed his big legislation to hold big oil accountable. It is going to maintain supply minimum, so if refineries go for maintenance, they can't jack up the prices. Because Gavin says big oil is out to screw you.
You have been screwed by these companies.
How do you respond? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Phil in Carson. Phil, hello.
Hey, that should be, first of all, a good drop for you. Because
yes, it should be.
When he had the chance to cut gas tax, what happened? He didn't do that because he said, big oil will just raise the prices. So, as he just said, we have been screwed. And by him. And all the other legislators.
I have a Gavin drop that is already ready for that one.
Because we chose to screw you.
See? That's even better. Because
Thanks.
Oil doesn't make that kind of money. There may be at 8 and 6% is their profit margin. So if he thinks they're getting rich on that, he needs to step back over to the French Laundry, crack open another bottle of wine, and look at the real numbers, like those in the legislature that are taking kickbacks from big oil. That's about
big
it.
oil, big pharma, big insurance, big PG&E, Gavin's big benefactor who actually started one of the fires that he blames on big oil. You make some great points, Phil. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Fred in Burbank. Fred, hello.
Hey, what's happening, Randy? Thanks for the call. I have maybe a question, but first of all, I'm sick of his voice even. But that aside, several years ago, if I remember correctly, $8 million was lost in gas taxes. Point number one. What's going on with that? Number two, my question is there a difference between, if gas prices are going down in the country, is there a difference between wholesale cost and retail costs? That's what number two. And then three, if the gas is what it is, but the taxes are so top heavy in this damn state. That's what's driving the price up.
The taxes here are higher than any other state, including Hawaii. We also have the cap and trade, and we also have different environmental regulations, which are going to make it more expensive. Now, what Gavin says is big oil charges you more even on top of all that because they want to screw you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. It's not about you, Gavin, you idiot. All right. I hope I made my point. Have a good day, buddy.
Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Oh, boy, I could sit here all day and just listen to calls of people yelling at Gavin Newsom.
You have been screwed.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, we're going to save that one. I'm sure there will be some use for it in the next 2 years.
You have been screwed.
Because this is our governor until 2026, everybody. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Gavin Newsom signed his big oil legislation today to maintain minimum supply standards at refineries that's supposed to stop all these price spikes that we see every year. Do you think the gas prices are actually going to go down? Do you think big oil is screwing you?
You have been screwed.
800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We'll take more of your calls, we'll take your emails, and we'll hear more of Gavin getting all the way pissed off at what's supposed to be a victory lap for him. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well. I try to read and respond to everyone. RandyKABC@gmail.com. That's RandyKABC@gmail.com. Boston John writes in at Boston John writes in at randykabc@gmail.com. Hey, Randy, can you send me the drop with Gavin Newsom saying you have been screwed? Excellent show.
You have been screwed.
If you want an MP3 of any drop that you hear on this show or the John Phillips show, just email me and I'll send it to you. They're not mine. They're everybody's. So if you want one, just have one. We're taking your calls at 800-222-KABC. You heard him right there.
You have been screwed.
Gavin Newsom is holding big oil accountable for what he says is them spiking gas prices whenever refineries go under maintenance. He just signed a new law that he called the legislature in special to put forth that mandates minimum supply standards so they can't jack up the prices when they go for maintenance. Do you think, as Gavin says, you've been being screwed by big oil?
You have been screwed.
800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Randy, question. Is this the same socialist dictator who motivated big oil by banning new gasoline vehicles starting in 2035 and imposed the highest gasoline taxes and carbon trades in U.S. history and severely limited oil field leasing and drilling in California?
In fact, those carbon trades are supposed to increase the price of gas another 50 to 60 cents starting in January.
Right. Well, what a coincidence. There was a fascist dictator in the 1920s who nationalized big industries in Italy to create a state-controlled economy. And you may remember his nickname was Il Duce. So I say we start addressing Gavin as El Douchebag.
Or we could go with Mussolini.
I'll take it.
There we go. Thanks for the call, Bill. Appreciate it. All right, let's hear more from Gavin Newsom this afternoon.
By these companies. Not complicated. And forgive me for being so pointed. It's exhausting. And what's also exhausting, with all due respect, I was walking with my kids yesterday out there on the coast in Inverness.
You mean a weekend he actually spent with his children and not watching Fox News with a bottle of wine?
And, we're trying to explain a little bit of what just happened in Florida over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. This is all connected. It's not complex. Places, lifestyles, tradition. We had an ex-president of the United States threatening once again firefighters, emergency response, just down in Southern California just 48 hours ago, threatening with a related cost. Talk about, again, a polluted mindset. And I don't know.
He's so at a loss for words when he gets so indignant.
You couldn't pay me enough to regurgitate the talking points of WISPA.
How about the talking points of PG&E? You've been paid by them heavily. How about the talking points of the insurance companies where you are failing to act on that issue? I understand, and you're totally right, that big oil is a special interest group that is looking out for them. They don't have the best interests of the California public or the American public in their mind. That's what lobbying does. But you take lobbying money from a whole bunch of other people.
The hell? Why do people need to do that? Don't they care about their kids and grandkids, our future? Places, lifestyles, tradition. Ask the folks in Grizzly Flats in Greenville, California. I don't have to remind you of Paradise, California.
Okay, I have to point this out once again. Those 3 massive wildfires were not caused by big oil. Now, you could make an argument that the conditions were exacerbated because of certain aspects of climate change, but those fires were started by faulty equipment from Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E. The utility, private utility, that Gavin Newsom helped bail out as one of the first things he did as governor. He didn't rein them in. And in fact, the fire victims in Paradise, California, they didn't even get paid out in cash. They got paid out in PG&E stock. So their livelihood is tied to the success of one of the most corrupt companies in California history. And guess who? Got to bring this up once again. Since it was brought up, Gavin Newsom was having dinner with that night at the French Laundry with no masks and a whole bunch of wine. It was his buddy, the lobbyist for PG&E.
Places, lifestyles, tradition. Ask the folks in Grizzly Flats in Greenville, California. I don't have to remind you of Paradise, California. Unprecedented heat waves every single damn year. Wake up. Talk about costs.
Wait. I have big oil to blame for the fact that it was so humid this summer? Screw you, Chevron. I pay a lot of money to not deal with humidity.
Talk about costs. They don't pay a damn penny as they socialize that pollution and that burden on generations. I think that former same president wanted $1 billion. That's all we need. Just $1 billion.
Again, you could make an argument that, yeah, that's pretty crooked. But how much money has Gavin taken from his special interests?
He'll roll back all these regulations. That's how corrupt our system has become. And again, why I'm so damn proud of the folks in this rotunda in this room right now. So to every single one of you, I know this wasn't easy. I know it was a pain. I can only imagine the stuff you said behind my back.
That got way bigger of a laugh than it should have, because they do say a lot of things behind his back, because this legislature will not stand up to Gavin Newsom. Even the state Senate, Mr. Mike McGuire, Mr. Hogwash himself was like, we're not coming back for this. He could have got this done in the summer when Gavin was checked out playing national politics. But no, all of a sudden, Gavin Newsom's presidential aspirations are done. So now he all of a sudden wants to be governor again, and this legislature fell right in line with him. Do you think, as Gavin says, big oil is out to screw you just because they can in California? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We'll take your calls. We'll go to some of the questions in this press conference. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email us, you can do so at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Stuart writes in and says, Randy, great show once again. The Democratic Party has the message of corporate gouging and screwing, which, if true, are far less than the highest state income taxes in the USA, the highest sales tax rates in the USA, and very high property taxes. Other states like Nevada and Washington only have sales taxes and no state income tax. Oregon has no sales tax and only income tax. California has both and very high gas taxes. Once again, Newsom is pointing at others when he should be pointing at himself and the Democratic Party. Thank you so much for the email, Stuart. Let's see what Gavin has to say when he is asked specifically about, does this legislation mean prices are going to go down?
The reason I started by asking about folks in Winters and the folks in Berkeley and wherever else, can you guarantee to them, unlike what we've heard from the governors of Arizona and Nevada and some in the oil industry, that this will lower their gas prices?
Well, let me correct in respect. I know you're referring to a letter that we received from the governors of Nevada and Arizona.
Oh, yeah. The governors of Nevada and Arizona sent Gavin a letter last month saying, hey, can you not do this? Because it's going to jack up prices for us, too.
In Arizona, I just want to follow up that we've had follow-up conversations with both those governors and their administrations. They expressed only concerns, and understandably so, because the impacts on those gas price spikes here in California impact their taxpayers directly. I'll remind you, just 2 years ago, it was $2.61 above the national average. Last year it was $2.55 above the national average, at a time when global crude prices had stabilized or declined. We saw a spike increase of $2.61. That absolutely concerns people in Nevada and in Arizona. And so what I can say to them is, now we have the tools and we're providing a process where the CEC will deeply analyze all the considerations and concerns, do the cost-benefit analysis.
This should be a real quick answer. Yes, your prices will be lower. But if he doesn't have that, that means this was a whole bunch of bloviating like last year when he said he was going to go after big oil and your gas prices were going to go down.
And provide a tool that has not existed in the past to actually address those spikes. And I would suggest this. I do think it's interesting, and I'm not suggesting causation here, but it is interesting that this year we did not see the kind of price spikes that we saw in the last 2 years. I just think that's interesting. I leave that to your more objective analysis.
Okay, so Gavin Newsom is alleging that because he made all of these statements about how big oil is out to screw you, because he held this special session and got the legislature to pass his bill that he signed today, that is why gas is $4.60 instead of $5.60 today, as it usually is in September. Okay, then. Do you believe him? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Would you like to give Gavin credit for your gas only being $4.50 right now? 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. If you'd like to email us, you can do so at randykabc@gmail.com. Susan writes in on Gavin the Gasser. Randy, I'm so grateful for you to pointing out the truth of the PG&E story with the Paradise Fire and Gavin's backstabbing of the victims while bailing out PG&E's ass, which you pointed out made the victims' positions even worse, humiliating even, all because PG&E funds Gavin, that backstabbing, boneheaded boob. You are the best. Great use of alliteration. We're taking your phone calls, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Gavin Newsom made this statement today.
I do think it's interesting, and I'm not suggesting causation here, but it is interesting that this year we did not see the kind of price spikes that we saw in the last 2 years. I just think that's interesting. I leave that to your more objective analysis.
Let's go to Jill in Monterey Park. Jill, hello.
Hello. Okay, I want to give Governor Newsom 100% credit. The fact that I just paid $4.89 at an ARCO for 87, when simply 3-4 years ago I was paying $1.89. So I give him credit for the fact that I have to choose gas or food, and I'm not playing.
Gavin gets full credit for this, huh?
Full credit. When you
Seems
have to
like
use
he
a
was
credit
asking
card to
for
buy
it
your
there.
gas, when you have to use credit card to get gas or food, that's when you know you're in trouble, and most of us are in trouble. All because it's been wasted on gas and traffic and lights that make you sit for too long and they aren't in sync. There's a lot of things that government can do better. That's why we have to lessen the government and vote local.
There you go. I like that message. Thanks for the call, Jill. Appreciate it. You know, it's funny because California is a high-tax state, but it's also, it seems like we don't get a lot of bang for our buck with those high taxes. For certain people, you definitely do. For the poorest among us, there are a lot of social programs out there, but the infrastructure in this state is kind of a mess, especially here in Los Angeles. Let's go to Fred. Fred, hello.
Yeah, hi. Look, as Einstein said, if you keep doing the same failed experiment and expecting a positive result, that's called insanity. And that's what voting for Democrats are. I live in San Francisco. I know Republicans are voting for one of the 4 Democrats running. I said, no, vote for the Republican. Oh, but she won't win. You're still voting for the same 4 people that kiss the you-know-what of Gavin Newsom. No, this is a mafia. There's more this is no different than CCP or Putin. And, look at the primary. No, we need to stop voting. We need to, look at this country didn't be created with an election. Okay, that's all I can say. And this is outrageous. This is destroying the country. They've destroyed the state. We have to put a stand. There weren't many Bolsheviks that actually converted Russia to Bolshevism. It was a very small amount of people. I don't think that the amount of true Democrats here is high. I really don't. I think everybody's angry. I don't trust any of these numbers. They cheat like crazy with the mail-ins. Look at the recall for Gascon. I could go on and on about Gascon and Harris. My kid was attacked by a homeless woman who was HIV positive. They did nothing. They did nothing, and he was 2.
Oh my!
In his mother's arm. Oh yeah. I was told by the assistant DA that you better if you want to put her in jail, she had attacked 30, 40 people. You better bring a crowd because the judges are afraid of the homeless nonprofits. I went on K-Ron. They edited out everything, that she'd attacked 30 people, that she was HIV positive. She got blood on my 2-year-old's head. He was in his mother's arms in Union Square on a sunny day. Other people had been calling the police. The police came and they told me it was the DA's office. It was Gascon in charge. He'd just been handed it by our illustrious VP, the worst in history. And I got a call from the number 2. What do you want to do with her? I said, I want her in jail. He said, well, you better bring her crowd because the judges are afraid of the homeless nonprofits. I went on K-Ron. They edited out all the key points. Poor little kid and his mother assaulted by homeless HIV. They didn't mention his HIV. They mentioned the blood. It's outrageous. They don't care about anything except power, and it's outrageous. And people here have to stop being so passive, We're sheep, and we have to stop being sheep.
We definitely got to be more active. We got to pay more attention. I appreciate you listening all the way up in San Francisco. We love to hear from you, buddy.
Well, I'm down in L.A. today, but witnessing your infrastructure issue with the traffic. But, this is crazy. People have to stop this. It's just no other state do you have 4 people in the same party running for the same position, and you have to use a microscope to see the Republican. It's just outrageous. That's
San Francisco to a T. We're out of time. Thanks so much for the call, Fred. Appreciate it. By the way, you can listen to a very special broadcast every single night at 11 o'clock on 560 KSFO, the Fix California Hour. We broadcast up there. It's a special repackaged version of the John Phillips Show exclusively for San Francisco. So check that out wherever you are in the Bay Area. Thanks so much for listening to the News Blitz with Randy Wang. It's always such a blast doing this. You ever miss an episode of the show? Go to KABC.com/newsblitz, Apple Podcast app. Search for the KABC News Blitz. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 for another News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.